Hello there, Ray here, and today I will be showing the upgraded version of the WitherGrave that works in 1.9 and above versions. I did explain how you could upgrade the 1.8 WitherGrave to make it work in 1.9 and above versions, but I had a lot of people asking for this version of the WitherGrave, so I went ahead and modified the 1.8 version of the WitherGrave to make it work in 1.9 and above, but it also works in 1.8 as well. Although a lot has changed from 1.8 to 1.9, I try to keep the WitherGrave looking and working the same as before. The biggest difference is that instead of building it anywhere within the entire Nether Fortress structure bounding box, you can only build this inside of the Nether Fortress walkway bounding boxes. Where you should build this is inside of a triple or a quadruple intersection pathway. Omeganix made a program that searched for 4 or more intersections in a row, and Smokey used this to search through thousands of fortresses, and it did not turn up with any results with more than 4 intersections in a row. So there is a good indication that 5 intersections in a row is impossible to get. But you could say get 3 intersections in a row, and then have a different structure in the center, and then have 3 more intersections in a row. What I have here is slightly larger than a quadruple intersection. It is 2 double intersections with a different structure in between them. Omeganix made me this utility mod which has a bunch of helpful different tools in it, and one of the tools allows me to see the bounding boxes of the Nether Fortress walkways as well as the large bounding box which surrounds the entire Nether Fortress. It also has the option to be able to turn off the rendering of different things, so I can actually turn off the rendering of blocks as well as entities. This allows me to diagnose and build the farm quite easily. So since we are not using the entire bounding box of the Nether Fortress but just the walkway bounding box, we can come in here and switch out the ice that we used to have down here for packed ice. This allows wither skeletons to spawn down here on top of the packed ice. We also have carpets spaced out. This just prevents lava slimes, the big ones and the medium-sized ones, from spawning down here. The other thing that is changed from 1.8 to 1.9 is that I changed the floors out. So instead of nether brick, we have the soul sand, which allows mobs to fall down through it. I also removed the top shifting floor in this design because the mobs that were up here shifting downward were taking too much damage by the time they would fall through both these shifting floors and then fall down through here. The next thing that I changed was the killing chamber. I used to have the mobs fall down into this long skinny chamber here, which was good for 1.8, but in 1.9 they added a sweep attack, which allows the player to be able to do 1 HP worth of damage to all nearby mobs near the player when he swings a sword. This allows him to kill off large amount of mobs with a single sweep. So after the mobs fall down through here, they'll take some fall damage, and they collect down here. Then they just have a gas that will push them over into this killing chamber, and from here the player will be able to reach them with his sword and do his sweep attack, which allow him to kill off the mobs. Since blazes do not take any fall damage from this drop here, they will have quite a bit of health left over. So there's 2 methods to getting rid of the blazes. The first method here is just by having a 2-meter high mob crusher, which will crush the blazes. At the same time, the player will also be doing damage to them with his sweep attack, which will do 1 HP. So this will allow the blazes to eventually be killed off by the player, as well as all the other mobs. The crushers are just activated every time this gas comes by and activates this pressure plate, which comes into a monostabler, which just comes through here and will monostable the crushers, which allow them to open for a brief moment, allowing the mobs to fall down. The second method is by having all the too high mobs get warped into the Nether Portal by using the pistons. This will cause some lag, but will cause the mobs to immediately be removed from the mob cap. Any stragglers that don't get pulled through with the first pistons will just fall down and get pulled through with the second set of pistons here. In the overworld, where the Nether Portal goes, we just have a Nether Portal with 2 water rooms on both sides of the Nether Portal. The mobs will eventually build up and push themselves into the water, and the normal mobs will just suffocate within the water, where the blazes will take extra damage from the water. The reason that we kill off the mobs that come to the Nether Portal is that they would build up in this area and eventually lag your entire world up, and every time you would send 1 mob through, it would reload this whole area for a little while. So to get these mobs to be actually suffocated by the water, we have to have the mobs within an entity processor chunk. So around here we actually have a bunch of chunk loaders, just allowing this chunk to be an entity processing chunk. So as soon as 1 entity comes through the portal, it will load this chunk area here as entity processing chunk, which will allow the mobs within it to suffocate. With the portal method, you will not get any blaze rods, because the blazes will be taken through before you can kill them. You will also get a limited amount of gold as well as normal skeleton drops, but this method is faster than the crushers. With this method, you can get an average of 5 skulls per minute. The crushing method is slower than the other method and only produces 4 skulls per minute. But you will get all the loot from the mobs, as well as it causes less lag. What I recommend for using both setups is to have your player stand back a little ways so that he doesn't get damaged by the blaze. This is especially true while using the crusher. And then kind of stand off to the side so the blazes don't have a direct line of sight to you. And then you can either use, your diamond sword or even an iron sword. And mending will allow it to repair itself, and unbreaking will just allow it to not break as easily. And the looting 3 is the important part. But since you're using the sweep attack, it doesn't really matter if you're using a diamond sword or say an iron sword. You will get quite a bit of XP from both methods, but the crushing method allows you to do the sweep attack on all the mobs, which will allow them to drop XP for you even if they get crushed and killed by the crushers after you do your sweep attack. So you will get a fair amount more XP just by using the crushers. If you're using this on hard mode, I would recommend having a regeneration beacon, just so that when you're semi-AFKing or even if you're AFKing, that you can have your player reheal after he runs out of hunger. But if you are semi-AFKing, you just want to click every second about, and you could have a strength beacon as well, which would just help you kill off the blazes in one hit, and also having a sharpness 5 will allow you to kill the blazes off more quickly. But if you're not using a semi-AFK method, then if you're using auto clicker, then you can just have auto clicker click every 1 second, which will allow you to do the sweep attack every time. Unfortunately, they did not fix the bug that is in 1.9 and above versions, where dogs that kill mobs for the player will not drop the correct loot tables. So there's no way currently to have the dog drop the wither skulls, and this also doesn't affect quite a few other mobs such as blazes don't drop their blaze rods when they're killed by a player owned dog, as well as spiders don't drop their spider eyes by a player owned dog. And there is a bug report in the description. I would highly recommend everyone to upvote it. It is a quite annoying bug in the 1.9 and above versions. Everything else about this farm is pretty much the same as the 1.8 WitherGrave. There is an on and off switch here, as well as the chest will collect the loot. I tried not to change it too much while still making it work with the 1.9 update. There is a world download in the description of both types of the farms, in case you want to build them. There you have it guys, the upgraded version of the WitherGrave for 1.9 and above versions, as well as working in the 1.8 version. So if you found this interesting, show me with a like. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe, and don't forget to comment. Bye bye.